Okay, we are live. Nicole, would you like to kick us off or do you want me to?
Sure, absolutely. We are entering into the third opportunity to just have a conversation around the faculty handbook edits. We've even had deeper conversations about things outside of the faculty handbook edits, but we would really love it if you all could let us know if you have any concerns, any questions, any errors that you've noticed along the way. And really, this is just an opportunity to have dialogue. I think Jim has been overly open to having conversations and has been pretty flexible in hearing our voices. And just in the last evening, we've made some adjustments based on yesterday's faculty interaction, and we hope to continue to do the same for the next two fora that we have coming up. And so we would like to open the floor to anyone that has any questions. And what we've said in the last two is that you can send those to a member of faculty council. So that looks like Jen and Robin are here today on the faculty council's behalf. So if you don't want to ask it out loud, you can send it to them and they will ask it for you anonymously. If you feel comfortable unmuting yourselves, we love it when faculty do that. But if you want to send it in the chat, you can do that as well. What we would like to do is if you have like small editorial changes, for example, someone said, "Hey, Nicole, I noticed that this is missing, but it's in the other handbook." They sent that to me in an email. So if you could send those types of changes to me at facultyhandbook@pointloma.edu, that would be very helpful. I typically can do those as we're having the conversation. So, Jen or Robin, did you all receive any? I guess I'll get us started with asking our faculty council members if they received anything last night or this morning as it related to any of the editorial changes.
I haven't
No, I don't
received
think it
anything yet.
Woohoo! And then I personally haven't received any questions as it relates to the current handbook edits. So I guess I'll just prime the pump and get us started. And maybe I could celebrate just a little bit by saying I finished the last portion of the faculty handbook edits. Woo! And I would like to thank every member on faculty governance, every member on faculty handbook committee, every member on the faculty council, and any subcommittee member that I can't name because there's too many. Thank you for pouring into this process. That said, it may not come to you today just because I want to honor our governance. So I have tagged all of the members of faculty governance, our faculty council chair, and faculty handbook committee. So once I have their full approvals, we will send you, Jim will send you the last portion of faculty handbook edits that we have. And I think there are maybe three in the last portion of this faculty handbook edit. So super excited to bring this to the faculty floor. Jim, have you received any questions or comments? Or Maria, have you received any since yesterday?
No, not a single comment outside the meetings that we've had here.
Awesome.
And Maria, I think is the same, yeah.
Nope, nothing.
Okay. And it's good with that last section that there's minimal changes. So it's not Nicole and I touch base. My days are getting blurred together, but I think it was today. She said we don't need to record a video for that just because it's just not substantive enough to warrant a video or a podcast. Can I start us off with questions as we for example, some of the edits that have come in recently, one I was tagged in was more about clarification, Nicole, and maybe you could answer this as like in the promotion and tenure section is adding the professional practice name there. So it was right. So for clarity, like this section applies there because there's a review there. So again, not something that changes the meaning or interpretation. It's more clarity, and so someone knows where to go when they're looking at a particular section. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. And I think one of the things that came out of yesterday's conversation that made me realize is one of the appendices was really outdated. And it was the appendice, I can't remember which letter, but it's the appendice around maybe tenure where it talks about the transition schedule. And after I looked further into that particular appendice, everything in that part of the appendice was really referring to when we made the transition to the new kind of tenure and promotion evaluation. And so I think it dated back to like 2015, where it was very specific about how to transition. And so one of the big edits I would say is that I made a proposal to actually remove that information for two reasons. The first is because it's actually embedded within the actual faculty handbook. So it's another place that we have to remember to update. And I think Lindsay Lubel was the one that actually brought that to our attention. And then two, it was really talking about the transition of our new rank and tenure or promotion and tenure process. And so it was outdated. So what you will see when we send out the end of the faculty handbook is I've cleaned up the appendices so that they actually reflect current practice. And then two, we've added, I think Bettina made this suggestion yesterday, which was to link to certain things. So I've currently linked to how to apply to our RASP grant, for example. I linked to the promotion and tenure manual, which will obviously change each year because there are specific dates, but I've linked to that. And I think I even linked to the sabbatical process. So what I'm trying to do as we do this process is link to things instead of writing them out. It's probably just easier to link to things, especially if they're Google Docs, because then they just get updated each year or whenever a committee decides to change process.
Good. Other questions from folks?
I think Bettina has her hand up.
Yeah, Bettina.
Don't I always have my hand up? Feels like it. I may just be slow to comprehend here these changes. And again, thank you everybody for working on these. This is incredible detail work. But right at the beginning of the sections for today, so that's section 9, eligibility for promotion. I don't have page numbers on this document, at least I don't see them. But it's section 9, eligibility for promotion. It's indicated that that's a board of trustees purview, but changes have been made there. And I'm curious to understand the changes. Under B, it looks to me like we have 4 subpoints, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so my question is, do we now have 4 ranks? We have professor, we have associate professor steps 23 to 26. We have associate professor with no steps indicated beside the rank. And then we have assistant professor. So as I'm looking at that, it looks to me like we have 2 layers in the associate professor rank. And first question is that correct? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah.
And number 2,
sorry.
is that linked to the steps that those folks are on? Is that the only distinction there?
Right. Let me try answering that, Bettina, and make sure I'm clear. And then probably Maria will have additional context on that because that's part of the subcommittee that she led that also worked with administrators across campus to have additional steps for professional practice faculty. So it's not necessarily, it's still you're still, sorry, I'm allowing to share. You're still there's still associate professor. But to access those additional steps, the reason they're separated is the faculty member has to go through a review process past that, and then they're able to progress through each of those steps as they go forward. And so those are all new steps that were added to the handbook, and that's connected to that whole package we approved in the fall. It is under the Board of Trustees section because they're the ones that had to approve it and then of course change that in our handbook overall. So I think that's the gist of your question. Am I answering that to your satisfaction, or is there other aspects of it that you?
Yeah, and I guess the underlying motivation for splitting it that way is to allow the professional contract folks to move up in salary, even if they're not moving up in rank.
That's correct. That's
Okay.
correct. And nobody just automatically enters into those steps. One has to apply to go, you have to go through a review to be able to access those steps.
Okay. My second question about these changes is, and I'm making an assumption here. I don't know if the assumption is correct or incorrect, but I put a comment under number 4B. I just did this. I don't know if you all can see this or not, or if it's just on my hard drive, but 4B says a master's degree and at least 12 semester units toward a doctorate plus 3 years of experience. If I move up to the associate professor, it says a master's degree and at least 8 years of experience. There's no mention there of the 12 semester units toward a doctorate. Is it assumed that anything at a lower rank would be carried forward into the next higher rank? Or is that something that should be included?
Let me take a shot at this. Bettina, you're missing the C. So it
A
says
C.
an earned doctorate, a
Yep.
master's degree in at least 12 semester units and
Okay.
3 years of experience, or a master's degree and 4 years of experience. So,
Okay, so go ahead.
so what this is doing is it is enabling colleagues who have a master's degree to move beyond the assistant rank and not be trapped as an assistant.
Right, I understand that. I'm just wondering why 4B and 3B are different.
Yeah,
Because
because 4B just says master's degree and 8 years of experience, 4 of which be a assistant, and 3B says that, where 4B says master's degree and 12 semester units towards a doctorate. It doesn't mention any other additional progress in education in
yes,
3B. That's what you're asking about.
yes, Jim,
Right.
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, and so yeah, I guess that's in the spirit of that, is that because it's in theory, um, it's a lesser requirement, educational requirement there.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to, why I said, I don't know if it's just assumed that you would carry those 12 units forward if you had them at the assistant professor level
Mm-hmm.
and you were moving up to associate. Well, you wouldn't lose that progress toward the degree.
Sure.
But is that something that should be like actually articulated there? Because what if somebody comes in on this professional track at the associate professor level?
So they don't have to have, so the intent is, so let me at least try intent, and then edits are great. Anything for clarity. The intent was to say there are two master's possibilities. One is you've got some credits towards doctorate and or more experience. Moving to associate, certainly if you've got the 12 semesters, you've got the 12 semesters. We can bifurcate this. What we were trying to do was eliminating the postmaster's educational expectations in upward mobility.
Okay, I understand exactly what you've said, Maria. I'm just wondering why. So now we're saying at Associate Professor 3, experience is more important than units beyond the masters. Where at the lower rank, we're saying you need the units and you need experience. It's obviously less experience, but you still need both.
We can certainly put a B in that offers that as an option with less time or something. But the intent was to make sure that people can move up
Okay.
without requiring additional graduate and this is really aimed at professional practice people, right? People in
Right,
graduate school are going to keep going.
right.
Um, and hopefully at the point of 8 years of experience for somebody with a master's degree, they've actually gotten their terminal degree. So this is a non-issue, right?
Yeah, it makes me a little nervous to change the less experience and do I just don't want to lessen what the associate professor is, uh,
Hmm.
by taking experience off that one. To Yeah, but it's an interesting point. But I hear what you're saying, Bettina.
Yeah, and I'm not saying remove the experience. I mean, the experience is high, more experience is required at the associate professor step or rank in number three,
Yeah.
item number three. What is missing there is any articulation that they have units past the master's degree.
Hmm.
And they're not required to. So we can put and units passed or not. Right? But the intent is that they don't have to have, that is not required.
Okay. So that is a difference. So,
Yeah.
and as you say, this is aimed for professional people who maybe don't have any intention, even after 8 years of experience, of ever getting more than a master's degree.
Right. And they'll never be able to be a full professor. So
Right.
they will remain always as an associate without the terminal degree.
And below step 23.
Unless they apply to crossover.
Yeah,
Okay.
but those extra steps are meant for those faculty so they could apply to those and still go through a review.
Okay.
Uh, to,
Is it editorial or important for clarity to add with number 3 up to step 22?
Yeah, honestly, the reason that 23 through 26 is there is we had it like as associate plus. We were trying to do
Yeah.
something to indicate.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
So
Mhm.
that was actually the reason we put it in there, is because people kept saying associate plus. What's associate plus? Are you adding another rank?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I understand the difficulty, and I appreciate everything of what the spirit of what you're trying to do. I'm just thinking for people who are not,
Mhm.
who aren't enmeshed in Point Loma, who haven't been here, who, just don't know, there are differences there that raise questions. And I'm just thinking, are there ways of eliminating those questions? And I know this is a Board of Trustees section, so we may not be able to suggest anything here.
Yeah.
But if we had steps beside 2, maybe steps beside 3 would be clarifying.
Mhm. Yeah, and just so folks know who are listening, anything in BOT sections, if we want to make any edits, I'd just take it to them this summer. It's something that we talk about for the next go around to discuss with that group. So I hear what you're saying, possibly adding the steps in parens there under the associate under number 3, B3.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Um, if you raise your hand, let me know. I can't see everyone on the screen, but if you could use your icon hand, I'll make sure I don't miss you. Any other concerns? Sometimes that's a good thing if it's silence. Sometimes it's not a good thing. But our fora have kind of gone both ways. They've been we've had a few questions and they've ended early. Yesterday we went a little long having a discussion, so I'm fine either way. After this meeting, I'm gonna send an email out that has all the recordings on one email. So it's another resource, and I'm just going to bullet them. And I'm going to mention which ones were previously sent and which ones are new. Yesterday's just took a little bit longer to download and upload. Cool. Other
Yeah,
thoughts?
maybe while there's silence, is faculty meeting next week? Yes, right?
Yeah.
And the goal is to bring all kind of 3 packets of the changes to the faculty floor for a vote. Just wanting to name that in the video. And then would you, I don't, I'm trying to think through this. Since we sent them out in blocks, do you think it would be best to have the faculty approve in blocks, or are you wanting them one cohesive document that they approve as all? So I can figure out
I
what.
thought Jim was just going to put it in the consent agenda.
Yeah, Rob, your humor right now.
Oh, Rob.
Aren't you the next faculty council chair?
I know.
That is not a good joke.
Hey, Rob, you can move to unanimously approve it without discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually think it'd be nice as just one document, just because I know we've split it up for the sake of dealing it within chunks, but it is part of a whole. So,
Okay.
and I haven't gotten the sense that there's like one section that is contentious or something like that, why we'd want to do that. So that makes me a little bit more nervous. The first, I mean, this is the bulk of it is the promotion and tenure stuff.
Mhm.
The first and second the first and last session or sections are, I think that's where we've had the least amount of questions. And I would say, like, being at all the fora, most of the questions are about clarity, right? They haven't been about, we don't agree with the changes per se. Um, anyway, that's at least my understanding of how things have gone.
I
Awesome.
don't have a question. I just have a confession. I think the reason I don't have more questions right now is I haven't read all the way through carefully myself. I just haven't had time.
Mm.
So it may be that there are more questions about this section that will show up in the next 2 fora for the folks who can read more and get to those fora.
Oh, totally. And it's a lot of it's not exactly the reading you want to do when you're at home at night and tired from teaching. So I get that as well. And so that's also an important thing. Like if folks are listening to this and you're finally getting around to reading it, and you're like, boy, I would really like, all the fora are over. Can we do another one? Reach out to Jen or myself or Nicole and let us know, because I know and this Nicole's laughing. But I mean, it's just I'm happy to I'm happy to meet with somebody though too, to walk through it as well. So I really want to do everything we can to make sure folks are comfortable. And sometimes it's just understanding what's there. Most folks didn't know, like, the table, our step table is in with all the multipliers is in the back in the appendices. And so that's been helpful too. So I've reminded a few faculty along the way who've asked about that. So it's good stuff. It empowers you as faculty to know all this.
Mhm.
Nicole, I have a question. I submitted some editing suggestions to you, and then Jim sent out another, he attached page 1 through 38 in his email a few days ago. Does that mean you've included those
Yeah, so
edits?
can I just show you my system? So what happens is Jim he sends out a Word doc. And then when you all send me edits, I'm working in a Google Doc. So April, I'm just going to show you my system so that you can see that I've actually made your edits. And so what happens is you send those to me and I start making them right away. So the new changes are going to be in green, like things that people have sent me, if that makes sense. And so they've been addressed, and faculty council has like a comment or suggestion document where your thoughts and comments and edit suggestions went, and then I cross those off in that document and then tag faculty council to tell them, here's where the change has been made. So if you send me stuff like last night, Bettina sent me some amazing editorial changes, and then like immediately I made the changes. And then for Bettina, I screenshotted the changes so that she could see that they actually had been made. And then there are some times where I can't make the editorial change, and I'll be transparent and tell Patina, like, I can't do that yet because. So one of the changes that we're getting a lot for suggestions is the removal of the language around departments. And right now, we can't remove that from the faculty handbook because our website still uses some of that language. And so if you send me that, do know that we will edit it out eventually, but our website has to be updated to reflect the language that we're now using. And so some of those things are going to stay. Department chairs may stay for a little bit longer, but most of the times, if you send me editorial changes, I make them in real time. Sometimes I just can't send them back to you, but trust me, they are being made. And yes, April, that's the answer to your question.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That's good.
I am way okay with that. Give me a raise. I'm kidding. This is
Yeah.
such a gift. I first I had like maybe a negative attitude about it, but now that I've hit stride, it's actually been amazing. Honestly, I'll just be transparent. It's been so amazing to see the way that Jim has been so respectful to our governance system. He does not allow for a change to be made until all of the committees have approved it. He will not push anything forward, whether it's board approval, whether it's whatever it is. Jim has been amazing to work with. But honestly, I've gotten to work with about 30 to 35 colleagues throughout this time as faculty handbook editor. So you all are thanking me, but I'm one person in a group of like 35 to 40 people who have spent so much time on this handbook. And this is what the governance system is designed for at Point Loma. And I don't know, I just love these things right here where we get to talk about something that's so important to us, right? This document is an important document for faculty and such an amazing resource. So don't give me a raise, but I like awesome emails and that say hi, and then I get to interact back and forth. So, did you have another question, April, though? So edits are being made in real time. When you send them, I do them right away so that I don't forget.
Looks like Kyla has
Kyla?
her.
Kyla, go for it.
I just have a newbie question on, and again, making my way through. I haven't read it all, but I'm working through. When the faculty salary step and schedule, is there ever a place where the base salary is published? Because I get all the multiplying factors.
Yeah, so good question. We haven't published that I'm aware of the step chart. We've distributed to all the deans each year. So the best way is to talk to your dean and they would have a copy of it. So that's what we've historically done.
Okay.
And so yeah, we would receive it from after the board of trustees meet, we update it and so that they can do their and that I mean that's a tool for them so they could eventually make their hires and be able to make the offers.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just was curious, like here everyone, here's the base, and then you have your multipliers. But if that was public or that just goes to deans.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily something we're afraid that it's public or anything like that. It would be, yeah, we would be updating the handbook quite often.
It changes every year,
Yeah.
right?
I,
So
b- I believe it's been announced sometimes when the faculty give the faculty update on the board of trustees meetings. If that announced, has that been sometimes in the minutes over some years in my, not every year, not every time, but I thought I saw
Yeah.
the base
It,
sometimes announced as a
yeah,
report.
it could have been, Rob. It just probably depends if it happens in a closed session or if it's in the beginning when they do the committee reports. This year, the finance, they did their report before the board meeting, and it was a closed session then. So that it wouldn't be reflected this year in that.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking it would necessarily be listed in the faculty handbook because you're right, that would have to be updated. But if it was even on the contract that the base salary for this 2020, 26, 27 year is X and follow your own multipliers.
Yeah. That's a
Okay.
question. Yeah, yeah, it's a good question. And I don't know if we can do that with all our new contract system, but yeah,
Okay.
it's
Thanks.
yeah, it's something to look into.
But Tina's hand is raised, Jim.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a great question too. And I'm thinking about the HERI survey that many of us just filled out. There was a question there about the base salary.
Hmm.
And I just had to go online and try to figure that out. So if it's not something that we are not wanting to be public, why not make it public? It's
Yeah,
not that hard to change the handbook, one figure. I mean, look at what we're doing to the handbook right now.
Yeah,
I'm just kind
yeah.
of chiming in.
No, 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 you're good. In theory, if we approved the handbook every spring at the last faculty meeting, it could be inserted in there. Yeah,
Or, I mean, honestly, I have been trying to work hard to do is to provide links where links can be so
yeah,
that we don't have to do, this is a massive revision.
yeah,
So an example would be, does that live like in a Google Doc on our My PLNU? Like, and
yeah.
so that way I can copy that and it only has
Mhm.
access to people with Paloma emails or one login,
Mhm.
and then I
Mhm.
can link to that. That is going to be more efficient. And the reason I
Mhm.
say that is because I'm one person, but in 2 years, someone else will take over. And
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
someone else may not be an attention to detail person, right? They
Yeah.
may be good at what they do. And so we want to limit, this is what I've learned in the last 7 months. We want to limit places where we have to repeat information or where we have to
Mhm.
change information annually. And if we can do that, then I think some of the inconsistencies that we saw in this revision will naturally just go away because the only thing that will change is nothing really. The link, the Google Doc will update itself, so the link will always stay the same.
Mhm.
The only document right now where we'll have to change it every year is the what is it, promotion and tenure manual, because it does have very specific dates. But I'd like
Mhm.
to avoid that if possible. That would be my vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Nicole 100% on that. But I would also say alongside that, we're tacitly approving any changes in the base step every year when we sign our contracts. And when the board meets, if they're changing that document, they're changing that document. If we keep working here, we're tacitly approving that. So why not, if the board wants to have control over the document and where it gets posted on One Point Loma, and they are the ones making those changes, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah,
It just makes it transparent and public if we need that information.
that makes sense.
Just my thoughts.
Can I just ask, does it matter for recruitment? Do people need to know if they're being offered a contract with a certain step to actually be able to go on without having a My PLNU account, but to be able to say, oh, the base at Point Loma is this. They've offered me a contract at step 17. I can
Yeah.
figure out what my salary is, or is that kind of not common practice among universities?
It'd probably be, my guess is that would be confusing to folks just figuring out the base and then the multiplier. What we do, we're required on our advertisements to give a range. And so we give the range of the steps where they would be hired. So and then that actually has helped a lot, I would say, when the offer comes because it falls in that range and they're not surprised. Where go back when I first started working here 10 years ago, we didn't have that. People would apply not knowing what the range was and then either be disappointed or surprised based on, when they finally got an offer. So yeah, and we'll limit that, Rob, also like if we're hiring just an assistant professor, we have approval to do that, or assistant to associate. It always makes me nervous advertising assistant to full. And when people are applying and they're thinking they can get that higher salary as maybe a junior faculty member or something like that. So anyway, that's just more context there, but they do get a range based off the step system, and they ask us basically why that is. So we have some parameters.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. These are good questions and a good suggestion. So this kind of stuff, I mean, I said this in the last four. These aren't the last changes we're gonna have to make to the handbook as we refine it and improve it because it's getting better. Laura.
Hi there. This is another newbie question, but when I've already forgotten, Nicole said it about departmental and changing departmental language. What is it going to be now? Again, I haven't been able to fully read through it, but yeah, just hearing that made me go, oh, wait, what is it going to be now? What are we going to be calling ourselves? And will that departmental language be changing?
We still have departments on campus. It's just because of the reorg, a lot of the language within the document needed update altogether. So,
Mm.
and in some cases, departments aren't listed. it's only schools or colleges that are listed, if that makes sense.
I did notice that. Yeah.
We're certainly not getting rid of departments. They still exist on our website. They exist functionally in terms of how we
Mhm.
organize things, but that's not always consistent with what's in the handbook.
Mhm.
So it's about a level, the amount of detail that's in there, and oftentimes it only goes to a certain level of detail.
Okay, that makes more sense. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So yeah, we're not trying to eliminate your use of language of department.
Okay, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
you're welcome. Cool. Other questions? Awesome. Well, are we okay to close for today? If other things come up, please do not be a stranger with this. Very much appreciate all of you. This is the largest meeting we've had, so this time really worked well. If you have colleagues that are concerned or have questions, please encourage them to pass those questions on or edits. Again, not to be intimidated by any section that's red or marked BOT, just so you know. That's still something we want to hear your feedback on it. And we can sometimes it might result in a very good change for us. So cool. All right. Appreciate you all. Thanks for being part of this and walking through and trusting us and being willing to engage. So I'll download this and send it out ASAP. All right. Bye all.
Thanks, Jim.